Welcome to the greatest moment of this year, arguably. February 20th, Saturn and Neptune meet together at 0 degrees of Aries in 44 minutes. This is the spark of creation, a 0-degree point at the beginning of the zodiac is the birth of a grand cycle, pure potential, unlimited opportunities. Saturn, the planet of materialism, of density, of tough lessons. The seen realm meets Neptune, the planet of the unseen, the intangible, the immaterial, the spiritual, the magical, the mystical, the divine, the soul consciousness. Way beyond just an incarnation on earth. This is understanding that you are more and that your journey is grand, that there's more to life, and you're opening up to the whole universal unity consciousness. Saturn governs reality, Neptune governs fantasy and illusion. Them coming together, it's really hard to now know what is reality and what is an illusion. Has that always been a play upon us? And is it now that pure potential, 0 degrees of Aries, a moment where we can blend reality and fantasy the way we wish? This is a point where we can come out of control and take back the reins of leading your own soul's journey with pure intention, with leadership over your own life, over your own soul's destiny. February 20th is when this spark, this creational blast occurs, where we are confronted with huge conceptual ideas, our idealism, our notions of reality, our illusions are being seen. Aries governs the head and the eyes and the blood. And so it's very much about confronting, vision, seeing. It's clearly a new start, a massive new journey for everyone on earth, because from our perspective, they meet. Now, it's not that they never meet, they do. But astrologers have looked back and way beyond the software and calculations, which means beyond 5000 BC, never has it occurred at this critical, huge point in astrology, which is the beginning of the beginning, 0 degrees of Aries. Pure potential, pure spark of creation. This is where you can, again, take control over your life. And what are you here to create? This is your opportunity. This is the moment where we all need to wake up. We all need to serve creation. You need to do that individually. Create your soul's desire here on earth. Working with imagination, such as Neptune, and then the reality, bringing it down into the 3D earth realm where we can hold it and touch it and sense it. This is where we work with imagination and creation. This is where all of these manifestation paradigms have been talking about. This is that moment of pure alchemy, pure power, but not egotistically. It is very divinely guided. And I think Neptune is another reminder of how divinely led, how, since it's so spectacularly rare occurrence, reminds us that it's a huge momentum, a huge opportunity to come into our whole beingness and to create from that powerful place of knowing who you are in your entirety, your essence. But it's also a slight reminder that reality, as we have seemed it to be, that tangible, that thing that we can hold, is not as real as we think. And science has caught up on this for a long time. Science knows that it's just a bunch of atoms, electrons, and protons, and nothing really touches. Nothing is real material. It's just how we perceive that to be. So it's also awakening to that illusion that we have bought into, made to believe that this is it, and reality is only what you can touch. That's real. What you can't see isn't there. And that's just not true. We are very limited in our sensual comprehension. So there's only a slight bit that we actually see in the light spectrum, right? There's only a slight bit that we hear. Animals hear way more. And there's way more going on than beyond what we see. We're very limited. I just want to point out the ambulance because Aries, where this happens, is also urgency, the urge. There is an immediacy. There is potential for danger, sure. We'll get into that. Urgency means the time is now. Saturn is the ruler of time as we perceive it. Or is time also an illusion, as Neptune would say? Or is time not what we thought it was? It's just, it bends like light. Nothing is really fixed. You have more control over these subjects, these concepts, these understandings than you think. And so we need to move away from our sensual understanding towards a different, higher level of understanding. And Neptune is where we get that gift. We get the gift of believing, of faith, of trust, of surrender, of divine guidance, of divine support, of understanding our own being as a whole divine presence, being strong in your intuitional skills, having spiritual practices such as prayer, meditation, movement, just to be in tune with that divine essence, that soul essence. It's not just a conjunction that occurs February 20th of 2026. This is simultaneously the birth of a whole zodiac cycle for Saturn, which is approximately 28 to 30 years that it moves around all the 12 signs. So it's also the beginning point of a Saturn cycle. But it's also the beginning point of a Neptune cycle, which takes 165 years to move through the zodiac signs. So we're starting, all in all, a very big 165-year journey together. But since it hasn't occurred at this degree point, this really important energetic point of 0 degrees of Aries, the creational spark of the divine itself, the birth, just like a baby, we're born into a whole new way of life on Earth. Since this has not happened for at least 7,000 years, if not more. That's tremendous. And to me, as I've explained in other videos of Saturn and Aries, because that happened February 14th, 6 days before this conjunction, and Neptune entered at the end of January of 2026. I pointed out that Saturn is about karma, right? Karmic contracts. It rules over Capricorn, which means it also rules over lineage and heritage. Goes back 7 generations, hence the karmic ties and contracts that we usually have with the lineage. You're born into your family, to your surroundings and environment for a reason. And astrology points out the reasons. Because in my opinion, your birth chart is your soul contract for this incarnation. So you can get a lot of clues from your birth chart of what your soul is doing, what you're here for, and the karma that you're here to dissolve and move away from. And this is that point where we all are hugely invited, if not pushed, to release the karmic load. 0 point is a beginning, a new, fresh start, a new journey, a new process. Saturn is that karmic connection, karmic contracts, and Neptune dissolves, removes, washes it away. So to me, this is a 0 point of karma as well. This is where we are released from all the burdens and all the ties to people, places, experiences. And that is very exciting because that hasn't happened for a long time. So all of us, willingly or unwillingly, have carried so much, but no longer. This is that point where we all are freed. We're all free. We're all liberated from that. And it's going to be a whole different way of being. Just so much lighter. Lighter in energy and how you are, your behavior, your urges, right? Why you do something, why you're motivated, which are very much Aries words. You will not be motivated from your karmic debris anymore. Your soul is freed from those lessons. And then now what you're going to do? Are you going to step into that soul destiny, why you were born? Are you going to create what you promised that you would do in this lifetime? Are you here now to receive, to step into the pure divine purpose that you have? There are more pure desires coming in. Again, not based on the past or heritage or even trauma, right? All of those things are connected. And the soul contracts, I believe, after February 20th are dissolved. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't new contracts coming in. Probably. And I don't know how that works exactly. Maybe we signed that before. Maybe we signed that, I don't know, in our dreams, which is likely with Neptune, in a different realm. And I think this is also where true free will can come into place. I don't think there was very much free will up until this moment in time, because we had a lot of karmic contracts. We had a lot to deal with lineage, with trauma. And especially if you've done the healing work, this is where you move beyond. This is where you step into the new soul cycle, lighter, freer, purer. As Saturn governs our timelines, it is fast, quick pace from now on. I mean, it was already with Pluto moving into Aquarius last year, but You know, things are moving fast. There's acceleration of the highest point, and it's going to be even more enhanced when Uranus moves into Gemini in April. It's a very dynamic time, and a lot of changes are occurring. The outer planets, which governs all of these massive topics of life, of your soul, of general consciousness, is all working harmoniously together. There are sextiles, there are trines. We're all motivated to move on up in consciousness, to awaken to the real truths, to break the illusions, to break the karmic cycles. And no wonder that then it speeds up, because there's no more heaviness. And so in a way, you know, Neptune is also removing the density in Saturn. It's removing the heavy lessons and, yes, the karma. It's making the reality that Saturn presents less real, more of an illusion. Fantasy becomes much more real. Imagination, we are going to understand how that's pure part of creation. How emotions, which are governed by Neptune, are going to be highly valuable, as Saturn represents the valuable as well, the success. And so emotionally driven, but like emotional intelligence, right? Not the emotions based on trauma from the amygdala and such, but based on the third eye that Neptune represents. So the pineal gland, the connection to our soul and the divine source, those kinds of emotions, the true intuitional skills, the gut feeling emotions, is what is going to motivate us, is going to show us what our desires are, what our true pure passions coming from our soul are. Another point to make is that Saturn used to be very much about fear, and hence the density. And what does fear do? Just like Saturn, it can block, right? Fears are often irrational, and they just block any mental rational capabilities. It blocks to calm down, you know. So it's a lot of obstacles and constrictions that fear creates, the old Saturn cycles. But now with that 0-degree point of Aries, because Aries is so much about the fearlessness, the bravery and courage in its purity, pure as a baby, right, is going to program that Saturn in a very different way. We're invited to the fearlessness side. And so Saturn is just going to be changing in itself. And it makes sense if you lose all the karma, you lose the density, you lose the obstacles, you're free. And therefore, there is no fear. There's just pure potential and creational opportunity. Imagine that. Imagine that. And that's the point we're at. I just want you to be aware of how special this is and how much autonomy and authority you have over this energy. Please use this moment, this momentum in time. February 20th and on, of course, but especially probably that day in itself, February 20th. Step into your purity. I would recommend fasting, to not eat and maybe only drink water, to be calm and in a meditative state, allowing your feelings to be, allowing your imagination to be free, to sense the messages that are coming in, and use the creational aspect of this 0 point of Aries very literally. Create something February 20th. It's a very beautiful day for a vision board to, you know, collect images and expressions, words, and make a montage of what you want, what kind of feeling, what kind of elevated state you want to be in. You know, what do you want? You want your home? Do you want to roam around free? Do you want to be more calm and present? Whatever it is that you want, a vision board is highly recommended. Hang it up at a place where you look at it often. That's the kind of energy. So creating it would be perfect because you're literally going to use your hands, use your eyes, use your imagination, use your passion and your motivations, your true soul desires in this lifetime, and make it visual, right? The visual element is kind of important here. The creational element is important, so hence the vision board, like physically making it. But other than that, it's also quite important to hold the vision in the mind, in the third eye, to let the imagination loose, to just, you know, create in your mind, and to create with love, with joy, feeling good, and just whatever you wish, just feel that. Just look at it from the third eye. Just see it come about. You know, indulge in the imagination and fantasy part of yourself. But you could also, you know, I don't know, what else do you want to create? Maybe you could paint a little bit or draw a little bit, make some music that day, sing songs that day, with in mind of very inspiring lyrics. Keep the vibration high, okay? Keep the energy high. Joy, love are very high energetic expressions. So keep the energy elevated. You can read a few inspiring pages from a book like Becoming Supernatural, which is actually a wonderful title for this conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. We're becoming supernatural. So I hope you're ready. I also recommend to do some movement that day. Go for a walk in nature. Do some yoga if you can. Just hold that energy in your heart. Because it's pure potential, it's unwritten. It can go in either direction. I'm giving you the most highest, right, of the pure potentialness, and understanding that you are an actor, an important factor in that unwritten journey. This is why you need to have an elevated state around this day and, of course, the journey ahead, especially this year and the coming years. If it wasn't the 0 degrees of Aries, and it wasn't so rare, I would have picked on more of the negative potentials that can happen in Aries, because you will hear a lot about that Aries governs conflicts and wars and struggles and all that. And Saturn being about obstructions and, you know, blockages and hurdles and just difficulties and hard lessons, often used to be a harsh reality, the lonesome journey that, you know, it could have ignited that as well, right? And it sure can if we don't take the actor that you're an authority in this journey. If you don't take that part, if you don't take the leadership that you have in this expression of this energy, then yeah, it can go whatever way other people want it to go. So this is where you need to take authority over yourself, your own journey, and that's how you're going to do and make the collective a better expression. Because Neptune is also about escapism and addictions, illusions, potential for catastrophes. It governs storms and, you know, floods, water issues, even illness. So, you know, if one would desire to make this a bad, low vibrational expression, it can. It always can. This is where pure potential means you have a choice, and you need to step into the choice you want to see. This is not about other people anymore, what they're doing and what they've done wrong. Forget about it. This is about you and your journey. What are you doing in your own life to make the world a better place, huh? It's time that we all contribute and all are aware of our part in that. I think since it's so rare that this occurs at this divine spark of 0 degrees Aries, of ultimate creation itself, of the birth of life, this rarity combined with positive, harmonious aspects to all the outer planets that it's already making, and it's going to make even stronger harmonious connections in the summer when there are more exact sextiles and trines, but it's already occurring. And because we have discovered all of the outer planets, their energy coming much more into our consciousness over the last 2-3 centuries, that these outer planets of Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune being discovered means, you know, it's working in our awareness. It's working with our understanding. It's activating our soul's journey strongly. It's activating that true path towards divinity, which is nothing religious. There are no books. This is your connection with your essence, your soul, with the divine creational essence of all there is. Seeing the magnificence in the universe, on earth, in your body, in who you can be, is so amazing. And we have not had this for a long time, which is why recent history of the last centuries have not been great. But this is where we change that. And so I am positive, because that's what astrology is telling me. That's what the energy is alluding. It's time for more liveliness, more playfulness, spontaneity, inspiration, adventure, to become your individual champion, to champion and take leadership over your own life. Yes, Aries is raw and confronting, so we're going to have that, but that will be good for our soul's evolution. We need to see, we need to accept what happened, what has happened, and how things work, really work. We're going to find the real reality, not the Saturn reality, but the real reality of all there is. And that can be confronting, and that can be hot. That can be a heated thing. But other than that, there is innocence, playfulness, vitality around Aries. There's purity, pure potential, pureness of energy, the innocence of a child, the innocence of being close to the divine essence. That purity is needed too. It's the purity of honesty, of being real to yourself, of being more direct in what you mean and what you want. Not being afraid of anything, not being afraid to confront, to say what you feel, to say what you think, to say when something isn't right. And that fearlessness, that courage, that bravery is going to make it such an adventurous, inspiring, joyful journey. We need to commit to that. That's the Saturn. See, the positivities, the higher expressions of Saturn is commitment, is a long journey of saying, I'm going to do this, even if it's not easy. Being pure, being innocent, being fearless. But I'm going to commit to that journey. I'm going to commit to the adventure. I'm going to commit to playfulness. I'm going to commit to being the leader in my life, to take risks when needed, to create movement through taking those necessary risks, but with a lot of faith, because I know who I am, I know where I'm connected to. I'm protected, I'm safe. I can be that fierce, fearless warrior and go after my dreams and make it happen, to create, to feel the grandiosity, to initiate the new. Saturn used to rule over Aquarius. So there's always that true, authentic understanding of yourself that's needed with Saturn as well. You need to serve your authenticness. That's how real Saturn is as well. Not just reality, whatever that means, but also being real, which Aries loves too, right? It's being honest. Be real, be honest. Who are you really? What's your authentic mark? You know, and just be that, be motivated by that. That's true success, even to Saturn, or actually really to Saturn. It's also integrity, which starts, of course, with being your authentic self and being motivated by your authentic desires, which means they are your own, that you're not motivated because you want approval. You want to be accepted. You want money / power. No, Saturn wants you to be authentic with integrity. You have to be motivated by you and what truly is you, nothing else. And so you kind of need that Aries fierce and fearlessness to be like, well, honey, take it or leave it. This is me and this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to hurt anyone, but I'm going to be fully me. I don't care what you think, right? That's Aries. I'm not going to be stopped by your perception of me or your unapproval of me. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be that, the highest expression of it. I'm going to lean into it more and more. I'm going to commit to being myself more and more, to expressing myself in pure honesty, in the fullness of who I am. And that's going to be a gift to me, but to everyone else. I'm talking to you. That's what you're going to do as well. I can't even predict how the world will look if everyone is going to be their full individual, loved up self. Because this is real self-love. Honoring yourself, honoring who you are. Knowing yourself is the greatest power you'll ever have. It's very powerful. Having integrity, as Saturn wants, is of course also the pureness in your motivation. There's no battle. There's no resistance. There's ease. It's the higher road. Not being petty. Merciful. If Neptune is the divine and about unconditional love, about faith, about surrender, about forgiveness and kindness, compassion, empathy, then Neptune is the higher octave of love, right? The highest octave of love. And so there's also here a massive commitment to high expressions of love. And yeah, that journey might be new to most of us, because living from pure love is not what we've done on this earth. And that's hella exciting. So just a brief look at the chart of February 20th gives us a little insight into that, all in all, at least 165-year journey, because this is the birth chart of that cycle. And so we have the moon in Aries, which is complementary to all this energy that I've been talking about, which is great. And it's at 9 degrees, which is very much about the Sagittarius energy. So enhancing the adventure, the lust for wonder, for discovery, to learn, to expand our perspectives, our knowledge, and greater joy and fun and humor, laughter, which is great. It's a lot of energy. It's very dynamic, and it wants change. It wants renewal. The sun is at 1 degrees of Pisces, so that's of course what Neptune rules. And so that's also quite a pure potential moment of the sun in Pisces, still having the vitality, the energy, the spotlight on creation, imagination, love, creativity, compassion, kindness. Next to this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, we have Lilith, the asteroid. I prefer to look only to the Lilith asteroid, not the black moon. So asteroid Lilith is at 3 degrees of Aries, which is right on this conjunction as well. And this would mean female, feminine uprising. This is where probably what we've all felt, that there will be more feminine-based energies in this new reality, this new karmic journey. The feminine energy is very much about giving and receiving. I mean, giving in the sense that it's a very giving energy, right? Women and the feminine energy love to share, give. I mean, in its highest expression, that's what it is. But it's also about learning to receive, to allow. And the feminine uprising is about taking charge. It's an Aries word. To be strong in your femininity, to be confronting and unapologetic in your feminineness, to be bold in the presence of, to stand stronger in your female body, to really honor what it is to be a woman, to take back the leadership over your own body. And even when you're a sexual being as a woman, it is your choice, your dominance. You decide over that area in your life. You can dress the way you want. You can talk the way you want. You deserve everything equal and more. And so the Lilith uprising here, I think, is good because, well, as far as we know, Lilith said no to a submissive lifestyle, right? To the submission against a man, she said no. She chose freedom, and she chose rebellion. And so we're going to have these themes in our lives where we're going to say no to the things we don't want, and to what is wrong, and to abuse and all that. We're going to be so stronger in our beingness, that it's going to be sort of like an unstoppable force. They can't judge you for it anymore. We're gonna demand that kind of energy, just like, you know, in the 70s, women demanded more equal rights and power over their own body. They did a great start, but we're gonna have probably more of that since Lilith is conjunct this conjunction. The moon is in a way close. I'm not gonna really take it in because it's 9 degrees apart from this conjunction, 6 degrees apart from Lilith, but still it's kind of, you know, because it's the same energy, it's pretty strong that the moon is here as well. Now, as I said, there's a strong sextile to Pluto in Aquarius at 4 degrees with Vulcan, which is also about liberation and taking back your power, creation, the heat, the fire that we're all going to feel as well. I don't know if that's going to be literal in the sense that it's going to be warmer, or just because we're so passionate and so driven and so ready to fight for our beingness, for our femininity, for what's right, and for the purity, you know, and that's the kind of heat. The confronting truths that are going to come out can be really heated, but maybe even the weather, because Neptune does have a lot of effect on the weather. So storms, heat, are potentials. There's an out of sign sextile to Uranus as well, who's at 27 degrees of Taurus, went just direct. So it's very powerful. It's in momentum. And of course, knowing that we're just 3 days after an eclipse is quite significant as well. So February 17th, 3 days before this conjunction, we had a massive Aquarius solar eclipse, which means kind of a new moon vibe, which is the start of at least a 9-year cycle. And that one is squaring this Uranus that we're talking about. So Uranus here is very powerful, and the Uranian energy is very high in the air because we've just come out of an eclipse. And we're actually in between 2 eclipses when this conjunction happens, which actually just adds to the whole supernaturalness of this occurrence, because the time between eclipses is very odd. It's very weird. It's very divinely led. A lot of changes. You know, it's hard to have a grasp on reality, but this conjunction is going to do that anyway as well. So it's very interesting, the timing of the universe to put this in between 2 eclipses is pretty wild. And so yeah, it is a wild ride. It is a wild card. And we will have a lot of surprises as well. So the sextile to Uranus is going on here as well. It's breaking out, it's breaking free. It's like I said, moving above the senses. And this book really describes very well how these senses are limited and we need to move above the senses. And I feel that this sextile to Uranus in Taurus, which is all about our sensual senses reality, the physical reality, based on our senses, which apparently are very limited, right? So we need to break out of that confinement and break free and be more our authentic persona, and feel how valuable and worthy that is. This energy of the outer planets sextiling each other, and then, you know, Uranus trining Pluto is going to be really important in the summer, and specifically July 18th. They're all going to be at 4 degrees, all outer planets. So Neptune at 4 degrees of Aries, Pluto 4 degrees of Aquarius, and then Uranus is going to be at 4 degrees of Gemini. That is going to be so interesting, so fascinating. It's going to be an ignition to what we're having right now, February 20th and on. So this energy is going to linger, obviously, and going to be ignited from time to time. Speaking of that, the ignition parts, I'm going to give you a few dates. February 20th, of course, is the key date. Another ignition is going to be April 9th, when Mars, the ruler of Aries, enters Aries. So April 9th is going to be really important. It's going to ignite this this conjunctional energy. So April 9th, we're going to feel a surge of energy towards this towards what we're already having at the end of February. That will stay for at least 2 days, and there's going to be a lot going on in Aries as well. So speaking of that, I forgot to say that, of course, the sun is going to enter the 0 degrees point March 20th, which is an equinox point. Okay, so 0 degrees of Aries is not just the beginning of a zodiac cycle. It's also the beginning of a life on Earth called the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. And that seasonal importance of the 0 degrees of Aries is just, it's so profound. It's so spectacular. So March 20th, we're going to have a huge ignition of this energy as well. So exactly 30 days later, right? Exactly 1 month later. So February 20th, it starts. March 20th, we have the first ignition of this energy. Then we have April 9th, the second ignition through Mars entering the scene of this energy. And then another key point is going to be April 26th, when Uranus moves into Gemini. Is going to be a more exact sextile, right? And then June 30th, Jupiter is going to enter Leo, and that's going to trine this 0 degree point of Aries. So that's going to be important as well. That might make it bigger, might bring us more excitement. And June 30th is also related, unfortunately, to an opposition to Pluto and all that stuff going on in July, as I said. So it surely looks like a very heated summer for some reason. Just also heated in the sense that we're coming into so much understanding, so much awareness about things, and that could just piss us off, honestly. Okay, so just a lot of knowledge coming in, true information, true wisdom. And like I said, July 18th is going to be a key date, right? Small connection, July 18th, when this, the outer planets are having a massive dance. Saturn is going to be at 14 degrees of Aries, which is going to be near the moon of this conjunction, right? 9 degrees of Aries. So that's also an ignition point of this chart again, so clearly it's a hot year that's going to keep putting fire on the flame of this conjunction, and it's going to change the trajectory. It's going to change the course, and it's like I said, the significance of the eclipses are strong. Also, we're going to have a Mercury retrograde February 26th, 6 days after this conjunction. Mercury retrograde occurs at 22 degrees of Pisces, and that's going to, our mind is going to be a bit fucked. We're having a difficult time to understand and comprehend what's going on, but you need to use your intuitional skills. You need to calm down, center yourself, trust your feelings, trust your intuition, weigh every piece of information on the scales of your intuition. Is this true? Is this, there are ways to do it. I think it's called geology or something. You test with your body, you weigh your body, you trust your feet, and you ask your body and the divine questions. Like, first you need to have testing questions to know which is yes, which is no. You say, like, you know, in my case, am I a woman? And then, because I am, the feet goes to the front, and so your body's saying yes, you are a woman. And then I could say, am I 80 years old? No, I'm not 80 years old. You know what I mean? The feet go to the back. And this is a very beautiful way to also enhance your intuition, to trust your body more, and to weigh what is really going on, what's the truth. So it's a great way to, how are you gonna know what's real, you know, what's true, and what's important to you. So, you know, there are tricks to this, of course, to receive answers. You can pray for them. There are ways to do it. Dive into them. It's all energetic. It's all spiritual. And I think it's great that Mercury goes retrograde around this energy, because it's in pre-shadow. And pre-shadow of Mercury is strong because Mercury is close to us as a planet. So I think it's intentional, because sometimes, just like Saturn, our mind can block because we're looking for proof, evidence of rationality, whatever that means. And you know, it can block real truth. Mercury can be really all over the place, and in Pisces it surely can as well. But finding the calm and peace inside will grow your inner voice, and not the mental thinking brain, which is very programmed by other things as well. So it's all about coming into the essence of who you are. This conjunction screams that, and everything around it does too. It's all a confirmation of one and only big message. Be you. Be fully, dramatically, wholly, completely you. And just celebrate it, be it, share it, and create with that understanding. Create with your wholeness, because when you know who you truly are, you know what you want to do, you know what you want to bring into this world, what you want to share. And it doesn't have to be grand, okay? It's just sometimes in the little things, right? Being present in your daily life is going to be one of those little things that's going to have big consequences, big positive effects. You know, smile, enjoy your life. This is so temporary. We're all gonna die one day. And so, you know, this is the time to live, to fully live. And none of us, I think, were able to do it because of a lot of constrictions in energy. And now we can. So what are we gonna do about that? So exciting. A few other things in the chart that I have to mention, of course. Mars is at 22 degrees of Aquarius. It's getting closer to the eclipse point we had 3 days prior, and it's also squaring Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus. Mars square Uranus isn't great. Usually that would be an indication of conflict and struggles and combat and all that. The lesser nice things about Aries. It clearly is a challenge because a square is a square. And it's a ruler of the situation, so very, very relevant. It just means that we need to be careful a little bit, okay? It could be accident prone energy. It can trigger natural disasters because of the fixed points, because of Uranus going on here. It can be about explosions, you know, escalation of issues. It could be about financial cracks. It can be about electrical, technical disturbances. Lots of challenges in authority, particularly male and the masculine and the masculine authority. So protests, uprising, revolts, rebellion, you know, sudden surprises, sudden acts, sudden movements, sudden. I always look at the higher expression of a square, and that means a square is always demanding our attention. And it's like, look at this. You have to look at this. I'm gonna make you look at this. And what are we looking at? We're looking at Uranus ending a 7-year cycle in Taurus. You know, that's gonna end at April 26th. Mars is in Aquarius, moving towards that eclipse point we had a couple days ago. It means that it will reach that point in like 1 or 2 weeks time. It will actually reach that eclipse point, which is an ignition of the eclipse as well, which was a new moon, right? A start of a new brand cycle as well, just like this conjunction. And I think it's a reminder of the Aquarius themes. Remember that Saturn used to rule it, so there's a connection here as well. And the ruler actually now of Aquarius is at the opposite side, called Uranus. So I think it's about remembering, like I said, the authentic self, the value of an authentic self, the value of authentic motivation, truly your own, and also the integrity you have for yourself, as well as your intentions and goals. So the integrity and self-respect, which I forgot to mention, that Saturn is also about the self-respect and the respect you have, of course, for yourself, therefore, and others. The respect you have for Earth, for the divine, for your soul, for this lifetime. The respect element is really, really strong. And I think the Aquarius energy enhances that theme, where we need to be respectful, we need to have a lot of integrity, and we need to have pure, authentic intentions. And that's why the intentions have to be pure and have to serve the many. And this is not where we are driven by egotistical motivations, which could have been the case if the chart looked different, if this conjunction wasn't at 0 degrees of Aries, if it didn't go the way it did in history. For instance, the last 165 years of the last Neptune cycle, where I talk about in the Neptune Aries video, was very combative. The last 165 years of that journey, we had, you know, all the wars in America, we had a lot of wars in Europe, and it was awful, a lot of bloodshed. So I think coming out of that cycle in itself, we're not going to repeat that, because you have to be really retarded to, you know, go through that 165 years and to do it again. Like, that would be I'm glad the universe supports us and be like, nah, you're not going to be that retarded. Like, no, this is going to be a level up. We've had the worst of the worst, and unfortunately there can always be more worse. So don't be like, oh, well, there's no, it can. And of course you want to be, you know, if things go worse, then the whole combativeness of Aries comes into place too. Like, you know, you have to fight for what's right. You have to fight for yourself. You have to fight for the good, right? So if things go haywire, that's what you need to do with this energy as well. But I don't think, coming from that and the whole astrology around it, I don't think that's what we're going to have here. But it's interesting, right, that there's a square with Mars and Uranus, which traditionally is very difficult and could indicate all those bad Aries Mars themes. And you know, Uranus brings a lot of chaos, surprises as well, you know. So this is not a nice energy in itself, but I think it's exactly what I said. It's a reminder of the square that, like, you need to be a little bit more cautioned, but the reason why you need to have the attention on this, the focus on this, the alertness, is because we're not going to repeat those 165 years. So I think it's interesting that that's in the chart, because anytime we're inclined to go to a low expression of Aries energies for Saturn and Neptune, we're going to be confronted by this square. It's like a protection mechanism in the chart that if we do what we did, then yes, shit will hit the fan, but as a reminder of, like, that's not where we're going. That's the wrong road. So it's like a redirectional mechanism. And very intentionally, I think it's placed in the Aquarius energies, you know. So it is the higher road. It is meant to be of benefit for many, or for all, or for humanity, for life. It's about honoring Earth as well, with Uranus still in Taurus, not to forget the value of this beautiful place that we're at, and how valuable it is to our life here on Earth as well. So to respect that and to honor that, to know the value of that, and just to move with that essence, with the essentials that we need as well, the physicalness that we need as well, but it's not all there is. And it just reminds us to have greater goals and higher consciousness, greater wisdom and knowledge, and to not be petty, right? To not be egotistical, to not be ungrateful for all that we do have. And I think the gratefulness can make the magicalness that is already here just greater, because we understand it better. And so it's also a bit like, where your attention goes, the energy flows, so it becomes bigger, right? And so I think this mechanism is also about, like, make sure you focus on the right things. Like in my Pluto Aquarius video, I also talk about ethics and how ethics are really, really important in the coming, you know, until 2044 or something, that Pluto is there in Aquarius. So there's also the ethical importance here of doing the right thing. Like, I know it's like, what does that even mean? It just means of benefit. I mean, it's not just for you. And Aries can be that, right? But in this, all of this, it shows that it's not the selfishness of what Aries could represent. It definitely is the higher expressions of Aries. And Saturn, which maybe used to rule over this earth with a heavy hand, you know, the tough teacher, is also being reprogrammed by all of this energy. So that's really the fascinating part about this chart. The last bit I want to mention is that there is a yod in this chart, which is divine presence, divine focus on the apex of a yod, the finger of God, so they say. So the finger of God points to the south node, which is in Virgo at this moment, 9 degrees. It's actually conjunct Lucifer, the asteroid, at 13 degrees. And so the yod on the opposite side comes from a sextile between the moon in Aries and the moon sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. There's individuality. There is long-term commitment, goals, motivations that have to be, like I said, for the greater good, right? And then they work together great. There's a lot of understanding between the Pluto and the moon energy. But then there is a weird energetic connection to the south node in Virgo. And to understand the yod, what the divine is saying, why the south node is so significant, we need to look at what that means. The south node in Virgo is super interesting. It's about the body-mind connection, and oddly enough, I've been hinting at that in this video, and you know, to trust the body, to feel the messages in your body. The body is a wonderful instrument, and you need to take care of it, you need to value it, you need to listen to it, you need to be in sync with your body. It's where you're at, it's your temple, right? So but it's not just a temple in the sense of, you know, where you live in or whatever. It's also because it's a temple, because it's created by the divine. And when you go within, it's the sanctuary. It's why going within is a greater connection to the divine, you know, in other words, intuition, because it's all with you in the body, because it's created by the divine. And it's really interesting because 0 degrees of Aries is embodiment. It's where we sink in from wherever we were into the body of a human being, right? We're born out of the bellies of our moms, out of the vaginas of our moms, very important fact. We all come from a woman. Wow. What an awareness, right? So how powerful is a woman? How necessary is a woman? How important is she? A lot. It's life, right? A woman is life. And we come into this beautiful body. And so this is what we need to connect with. This is what is everything. And the magic is all here. It's all in the temple. It's all in the body. So it's interesting that this yod points to that body-mind connection of Virgo. Taking care of it, nourishing it, feeling it. Your body is a medium. It answers. Your body is the intuition, where your soul kind of, I suppose, talks to it or something. In a way, we receive messages from our body. How our body operates, healthy or not, affects how we think, and that's the body-mind connection we need to be aware of. So taking care of the body means also mental health, as well as Virgo is about the habits and routines, so spiritual practices and doing these little things for ourselves. Self-care is really important. Nutrition, movement, but also therapy. And I think it reminds me of another book, this book about trauma, where the body keeps the score, written by Bessel van der Kolk, a psychiatrist. It's how we have stored the trauma in the body. And remember how I said this conjunction is actually the end of karma, meaning the end of trauma. And but it was stored in the body, right? So I think now that it's ending, the whole trauma karma loop, karma trauma loop, we need to massively purge, detox, and release it out of our physical body, where it used to be knotted in tissues, in the fascia, in the nervous system. Again, fasting is wonderful to do that, to release the body. Sauna is great. Sweating because of movement. Just taking a little bit extra care. Eat more natural. Virgo is about the natural. It is about earth. It's about simple purity. Purity of the mind, purity of the body. It's also about agriculture, you know, animals, pets. I think we're gonna have a different connection to that as well, understanding that since we're gonna see more, we're gonna hear more, we're gonna also perhaps understand how they are functioning better, and this will help us to honor life on earth more, to honor Earth itself more, how wonderful it is, because we come into the understanding of all there is and how it's really working, how they are a consciousness as well. They're communicating in their own way. And I think it's my theory that animals are way more intelligent than we are. We have just been really egotistical, arrogant beings, which I suppose Aries can be in its negative expression. And we're moving away from that, okay? Egotistical motivations are going to be reprimanded, and maybe that's when the square from Uranus to Mars will kick your ass. So it's not about things that just benefit you. So this yacht to the south node is going to upgrade our experiences and the expressions of Virgo energy. Overall, just have a pure heart, commit to purity, commit to who you really are, shine in your authentic self, and happy free karma. Let's all enjoy this liberated journey and then take the power of, you know, co-creating in our lifetimes with always love and joy in our heart's eye, in our mind's eye. Let me know what you think this Saturn Neptune journey is gonna bring us. What are your theories? I'd love to know. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment to support and to have a conversation. So take great care and take the authority over your own life. Take autonomy over your own life. This is the time. It is a special, unique, spectacular, unprecedented time. Wonderful.